All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here for another edition of NSR Wrestling. I'm Peck,
I'm Chris.
and this week we're going to be recapping. Actually, we're not really recapping much of anything. We're going to be
Well,
previewing Survivor Series and also looking back on past Survivor Series, what we liked best, how the formula has changed, and maybe if it's finally time to put it to rest.
yeah, it's kind of wishy washy, and I think the reason why Survivor Series is so kind of screwed up is because it doesn't even look like WWF or E or whatever it was anymore. It looks like this weird, like humongous company with this odd group of individuals that are there. It's just weird. It doesn't look like the WWF. It just doesn't. It looks like some kind of weird
No, and
super thing.
we haven't seen a commitment to the Survivor Series idea from WWE going forward over the last 4 years. As a matter of fact, you remember when they were actually talking about getting rid of it as a pay per view entirely?
I couldn't believe
And
that.
the only reason they put it back in was so many fans complained about them getting rid of one of their four marquee shows. And then there was the whole concept of bragging rights. I'm like, okay, so you're gonna have an elimination style tag team match similar to Survivor Series, but the only difference is one team is from SmackDown, one team is from Raw. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they already do SmackDown versus Raw at Survivor Series?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. So what is the point of having bragging rights?
Yeah, that was stupid.
It wasn't a bad pay per view. I was at the first one, but it wasn't a good, great
Well,
concept
it
either.
it all goes back to the original formula. It would make sense if it was WCW versus WWF or ECW versus, but it's not. It's the same company going at it, and no one cares.
Well, what I didn't like is, back in the day, Survivor Series was always your, 10 biggest stars or however many going against each other. Then it got to a point where the Survivor matches were really any team of mid carders going up against another team of mid carders for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, it's like, and just looking at this card, there's three matches listed. So each match will be an hour, and that's it.
Well, Chris, unfortunately, we know better than to think that WWE would actually give us an hour of wrestling. We
Yeah,
know that there will be about seven matches by the time the card rolls around. We'll get about, maybe your longest match will be 25 minutes. Most of it will be entrances and backstage segments.
because I was reading the reason why apparently they booked a traditional Survivor Series match
It
as
didn't get a good reception.
yeah
Exactly.
as the main event this year. But apparently they pulled it as the main event because the reception, and they said because of bragging rights the one year when they started that pay per view bombed because it was a team concept. But I'm like, this team concept is what got you to the
It's the whole idea
of
of
the show,
Survivor
yes.
Series.
And then if you're not making money off it, then apparently you're doing something wrong. It looks pretty horrendous just by looking at it.
Well, just to run through what the original plan was going to be, they were going to do Team Punk versus Team Foley.
That
Now,
makes
Mick
sense.
Foley wasn't going to wrestle, and
That doesn't make sense.
had he have wrestled, I think a lot of people would have tuned in more. But the plan was, God, it was just terrible. Punk was going to captain a team with the Miz. Um, who the hell? What's that tag team? Is it the Primetime Players or is it Rhodes Scholars?
It's I think Rhodes Scholars. Yeah, it says
Okay, so
Rhodes
it was going to be
Scholars
Cody
here.
Rhodes and Damian Sandow, and then
Looks like Wade,
Alberto Del Rio.
yeah, there's Wade Barrett
Originally.
here.
Well, that was the original plan.
Okay.
And then they were going to go up against Ryback, Kane, what's his name? Daniel Bryan, and then
It says Kofi Kingston.
Kofi
Here.
Kingston. And
McFoley, I guess.
did
Or
I say
no?
Ryback?
Yeah, I don't think. There's,
Oh, okay. Ryback was going to be the other guy. But anyway, the way they decided to change it was this gets a little confusing. They pulled CM Punk from the match and they put him in a triple threat. They actually pulled Ryback too. And they put them in a triple threat for the belt with Cena as the main event now, completely burying the whole Punk Foley angle. And apparently now they're not going to do Punk and Foley at TLC like they planned.
see, this is what screws WWE up all the time. They always go after money instead of the original concept of like the actual storyline, and this is what screws them up all the time. Like they
And
just,
then they decided to apparently the Miz quit the heel team for no apparent reason. I'm not really sure why. And then Dolph Ziggler joined, and then Wade Barrett is now on the heel team. It makes no sense.
it's just sloppy booking.
It really is, and the whole Ziggler thing doesn't make any sense because they were planning to do an angle with him and Cena. Not that I particularly care because What is he doing with that damn briefcase? Why is he still the Money in the Bank holder? Why is the Big Show the world champion right now? And why is Dolph Ziggler still on Raw?
I
He's
have
the
no idea.
SmackDown World Heavyweight title Money in the Briefcase winner. He hasn't cashed in yet. I don't know what they're doing. And personally, I never want to see him as a world champion. I don't care, but
Kind of stupid, huh?
it really is. And then, they booked a feud between him and Cena, wasted time with this whole AJ storyline, and now they're not going to do it.
And I don't understand why they have Mick Foley in a survival match and he's not wrestling. He's not like beat up or anything. Too
He's
bad.
just the manager. Well, you know what? They really, they were talking about it, and they really have this bad attitude about Foley as a wrestler. They think him getting into a ring and beating up somebody younger or even being in a match, they don't feel like they should give him TV time.
Well, he went to TNA. They're probably mad at him
Well,
for
that and then Triple H isn't a supporter of him.
I don't think he ever was.
Well, which, by the way, to me sounds very hypocritical because Triple H can largely thank Mick Foley for putting him over.
Exactly.
I mean, let's not forget, he's the reason behind Triple H's entire, aura of dominance, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Paul.
Shows how much he appreciates it.
Exactly. But we know Alex Wright spanked him at Starrcade 94, so that's all we got to say about that, right?
Literally, right.
Yeah, we're right.
Um,
But this show looks pretty horrendous. But see, this is, and people say, well, Chris, you don't like WWE, you're prejudiced. I did like WWE at a point, but that was 15 years ago. I mean, you look at the booking now, it's horrendous. You got a lot of great talent, but you're not doing anything with it, or the right way.
And for me, I really stopped being a fan around 2009, 2010. And honestly, the only reason I'm not a fan is a lot of my favorites have quit, a lot of my favorites are retired, and a lot of my favorites are in TNA now. It's not necessarily. I mean, I'll give WWE credit when they go out and have a good match. But if it's not a good match, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, and I'm not going to waste any money on it. I mean, you can't honestly tell me that a match on Monday Night Raw, now that you've gone to 3 hours, should really only be 7 minutes long. Why?
Yeah, I don't understand. It seems like they're always screwing up the booking. Like it just
And
constant
they
change.
talk about, oh, we don't want to burn them out for the live events. I'm sorry, but wrestlers have worked how many live events a week for years
I
when there
know.
wasn't even television exposure, and they put their bodies on the line and wrestled for 20 minutes? You're telling me they can't do it? I see
Yeah,
people getting hurt in a wrestling ring, wrestling for 3 minutes, and then there are people wrestling for 25 and nothing happens to them. You can't tell me injuries are the reason behind that. You can't.
yeah. I mean, this. I don't understand. I don't know what their logic is.
And their booking is just really weak. I mean, honestly, the fans have even turned on Sheamus just because of the fact that he's just not able to talk.
Like, who
I mean, he
cares?
can deliver a little bit in the ring when he has the right opponent. I mean, he didn't have a bad match with a Big Show, but there's only so much you can do with that.
Yeah, they're wrestling apparently.
But I mean, the fact that he was champion for that long just shows you how weak the SmackDown roster was. I mean, they had to do without Randy Orton for 6 months, and they floundered.
Yeah,
I mean,
apparently he's back
they're
in
really
this.
booking him hard. I mean, he beat the living hell out of Del Rio, and they had a really good, 20, 25 minute street fight on Friday. But well, technically Tuesday. I don't know. It's on 2 nights. It's weird. You can watch it, and then it says it's live both nights, but it's not a different show. But I mean, I really don't know what they're really trying to do right now.
I have no idea.
I mean, I don't think we're going to get an appearance by the Undertaker, even though it is Survivor Series.
Yeah, well, it says here there's a person missing off that team, so maybe they're banking on him.
Well, no, because remember when I said the Miz quit? I believe what they're actually going to do is they were talking about putting the Miz on Team Foley. Now, I'm not really sure why you want to do that, because honestly, the Miz is a face. People cheer for him anyway as a heel. I don't really feel like you need to bring him up to that level, and quite honestly, I don't feel like he deserves it. He's a product of the least memorable WrestleMania WWE title match I've ever seen between him and Cena. The only reason people remember him is because of The Rock's interference, and he
Yeah.
actually won the match.
I'm
Because of
surprised.
it.
Speaking of The Rock, I'm surprised he doesn't have a team or something. Or maybe he'll
Well,
be
no,
the surprise
Rock,
guy.
No, because he has. They're only talking about using him for the Rumble, possibly Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania. They want to have him win the belt at the Rumble, but the problem with that is, he probably won't work any live events. He has that movie schedule, and they're basically only going to get 2 matches out of him or so.
Isn't isn't that what's kind of wrong with the WWE right now? That all the part-time guys are going to be like the main eventers and win the belts, and it pretty much shows you they don't care about the guys that are there.
I mean, I understand how big for business that would be in one shot and what that can do for pay-per-view buys and everything. I mean, look at last WrestleMania. On paper, it was a great card. A good bit of the matches with the young guys didn't deliver, but all the veteran guys, Taker and Triple H,
Oh yeah,
Rock and Cena, say what you will, they delivered. People bought it because, oh my God, The Rock's wrestling for the first time in how long? And you had Punk and Jericho. That was also a very good match.
Yeah.
The new guys, Sheamus and Bryan, that match didn't even go long enough to pass judgment on. A lot of the stuff. So I mean, really, they're depending on the older stars, and I understand doing that, but at a certain point, it's like you really can't jeopardize your entire plan, your whole writing schedule for somebody that's only going to wrestle, what, 2 matches in a whole year? Really?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
And now you have Triple H on limited dates because of his engagements as a writer and as a booker, which personally I think he can miss every single one of those and just be a wrestler and be fine because quite honestly he's running the company right into the ground. Any good roster that they have is just going to waste because of his terrible ideas. Vince McMahon fired the head writer of Raw because he wasn't happy with it, and I understand why.
Yeah.
And then, we have Teddy Long, we have Booker T as general manager of SmackDown. Who cares? There's no one on the show.
Yeah, what's it,
And then you have all these SmackDown guys showing up on Raw, and, you forget they're even a part of SmackDown.
It's so bad.
But, and that's really the only 3 matches announced so far for the card. And the other problem is all of your tag team champions, your United States champions, and your Antonio Cesaro. He's the other guy in the heel team, by the way, for the Survivor Series matchup, the United States champion.
Mm.
So basically, you have all the belts tied up in just that one match. What are they going to fill out the rest of the card with?
That's what I'm trying to find.
Do they have anyone left?
I don't really see.
They have Botch Kara and Rey Mysterio, but I guess they're going to team. I don't know. I honestly don't know. What can you do with these people?
There's no matches listed. There's just like 3 matches here. That's all they have listed.
Yeah, that's their only plan so far. I don't even think they have enough people to put together a second team. A second survival match if they had one.
When is this pay-per-view? Do we know?
November.
Yeah, I know that. Let me see. 18th. That's what next. Oh, it's early yet.
Yeah, it's early, but that's only like 2 weeks away.
Yeah, this is like TNA booking for Bound for Glory the past couple of years.
When we found out that RVD versus Zema Ion was going to be on the show Thursday.
Yeah.
Before Bound for Glory.
I'll give a pass since it wasn't as bad as the last 2 years, where like all the matches were booked like three, or at least told to us 3 days before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, pretty much. But so that's this year's card for Survivor Series.
It's looking weak. I want more survival matches. That's just me.
I wasn't going to buy it anyway, but looking at it definitely means I'm going to save $45 or however much it is nowadays.
Yeah, it's a rip-off anyway to pay for that. And plus, these survival matches aren't even as long as they should be. They're usually like 15, 20 minutes. It's over,
Lately, yeah, that's been the problem.
Yes, we got 3 matches. Not impressive, as usual. Under-delivering, as usual.
I don't care about Ryback. I don't care about Cena. I've lost all interest in Punk, so the main event holds no attraction for me either.
So the whole pay-per-view could be summed up as confusing, and who cares? I mean, honestly, they keep changing everything, and why should we care?
Well, they've actually been changing everything quite frequently. Apparently, they have 2 scripts for every single Raw written, and they can't decide which one to use, and they're making changes 20 minutes into the show.
It sounds like WCW there. Jesus.
Well, the only thing that saves them is they have no competition. Or, they do have competition, but not a lot of people give it enough credence that they should if they actually value wrestling, but a lot of the fans just don't, quite honestly.
No, they don't. Well, I guess it's that time to actually talk about survival series shows that we actually cared about.
Exactly. The ones that still hold a fond place in our heart, unlike this one, which we won't even remember.
Well, it's almost like the 2000s are just all the same. They're pretty much forgettable.
There were some pretty good ones where they incorporated some, cool personal feuds and whatnot, but then there were some, and, they created a lot of interesting angles, don't forget. Like, we would get good singles feuds out of, some of the things that happened in those matches. But, at the same time, a lot of times nothing good would come out of it.
No. They're pretty much forgettable, a lot of them. They just seem like they're the same ones, but they just switch some of the guys on the teams. It's like the same show. Here we go.
A lot
again.
of them have actually had the same ending quite a few years. I think Randy Orton has been the sole survivor, I want to say at least 3 times.
Oh, God. That'll be his claim to fame now. I was a legend killer, now I'm a sole survivor.
They've all ended essentially the same way. The last good guy on the team fights off. There are 3 on the bad guy team, 1 guy on the good guy team left. He takes out 2 of the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he super kicks like JBL and pins him, he turns around and Orton RKOs him.
Good Lord.
That was pretty much all that I remember from recent Survivor Series. And, aside from appearances by The Undertaker, title defense in 2009, which was an interesting concept because That was one of my favorites because in 2009 we had Cena defending the WWE title against D-Generation X
Mm-hmm.
in a triple threat. And then we had Taker going up against Big Show and Jericho, and they were a tag team, but it was a triple threat. And I couldn't believe that both sets of champions retained.
I'm looking here at the one from 2008. I don't remember Edge and Triple H versus or Edge versus Triple H versus Battle Royale Kozlov. It was just Triple H and Kozlov, I thought.
No, because I remember what happened.
Or was it like a quick
You remember
pin
when,
or something?
No. You remember when Edge and Kozlov were rolling around like slugs? You were over houses for this match.
Yeah, but I thought that was Triple H and
It
Kozlov.
was, but you remember when they were both lying down there beat up and you were just like, God, make it end? And then Vicky Guerrero came out and said he's here, and it was originally supposed to be Jeff Hardy.
Oh, so it was
He
real
injured,
quick.
And Edge showed up with a beard, speared Triple H, and won the match.
Oh, that's how it was. Okay, I just remember the match was so horrendous. That whole pay-per-view sucked.
It did, and then we got to the main event and it got worse.
And it's like, okay, you bash TNA. How many times have we seen the Undertaker in the big slob wrestle? I mean, it just
You know what, though?
atrocious.
As much as often as we've seen it, I gotta say the gigantic casket was really entertaining.
Yeah.
You remember when Big Show broke the first one? And then the Druids brought out a completely different giant casket, and they had it set standing up, and the Big Show fell into it, and then the whole thing fell over with him inside of it.
Sweet Lord.
Comedic relief at its finest.
Ugh. I mean, just a headache. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I mean, the 2000s, like we said, you can listen to our one podcast, The Decade of Disaster. We explained that.
You know what, though? I gotta say, for me, it really wasn't, because there were whole years where I was perfectly happy. In my opinion, Monday Night Raw under Eric Bischoff was one of the best run shows that I remember. You remember that.
Yeah.
When we had Evolution, when how strongly they were booked, when they had all the stars, when they had Shelton Benjamin against Michaels on TV. You remember that match.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a lot of good stuff. And 2007 was probably my favorite year. And 2006, because, we had RVD winning the WWE title. Granted, that didn't last. We had The Undertaker finally winning the World Heavyweight title after, years of not being champion.
Yeah.
We had some really good things, but, once 2008 or 2009 hit, it was all over.
Yeah. Well, where should we start on this list? I have them all listed here. All
Let's
the
start with
matches.
the beginning. Let's talk about the genesis of Survivor Series and go into
All right.
what that all was.
Let's see. It came from Richfield Coliseum on November 26th. 1987, this thing kicked off.
Died
Holy Lord.
November 18th,
Yes.
2012.
It was a good run. Well, it was basically they were capitalizing on the Hogan Andre feud at the time from WrestleMania 3 that ran over into, I guess, other feuds, and then
And a very brief title reign for Andre the Giant.
yeah, it's kind of random. It's kind of weird. But I guess Hogan beat him at 3, won the belt, and I guess they did some other feuds with them against each other on Saturday Night's Main Event and everything else. And then finally we get to November, and well, really this was meant to destroy Starrcade as well, because the NWA at the time was having Starrcade in November, and that was their hot spot, that was their moneymaker. And then Vince McMahon comes along and pretty much beats the hell out of all the cable companies and tells them, hey, show our product or else, and he strong-armed a lot of them, and they caved, and they got Survivor Series. So really, Survivor Series kind of ripped off Starrcade in a way, because they stole, a lot of their mojo, you could say. And they took their whole concept, not their concept, but just their November pay-per-view
Their
slot.
time slot, basically.
Yeah. So basically, Hogan and, got all his friends together from kindergarten class, and they all, tried to take on Andre the Giant's team, and it was the good guys and bad guys, and it was quite the group. Andre had the gang, King Kong Bundy, Butch Reed, and Rick Rude, which is kind of random.
It is at the same time, but it's also pretty cool. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a really star-studded team right there, just on the bad guys.
And then they wrestled Hogan.
Oh,
Yeah. Paul Orndorff, who was actually feuding with Hogan earlier on in the year. Morocco, Ken Patera, and Bam Bam Bigelow. And I think Ken Patera or Don Morocco, one of them I think it was Morocco, was a substitute for Billy Graham, because Billy Graham,
yeah, I don't really
was
think
supposed
Don
to be-
Morocco would usually be anybody's first-round draft choice.
no. I think it was supposed to be Billy
I
Graham.
don't even really remember Don Morocco as a good guy, honestly.
It was brief.
Yeah, it really was.
It was probably a year of that, and the rest of the time he was a bad guy. But Hogan had a failed effort to Andre. They just beat the crap out of Hogan's team, and Andre won, actually. Or it might have been I don't know if it was Bundy or Andre that survived. I don't honestly remember. but they
One of
beat
those
them.
two sounds right.
Yeah, if somebody was, a couple of them were left in the end because like, good luck trying to pin the gang on all those guys. I mean, yeah, I don't see it happening.
Good luck trying to kick out too. You have all that weight on you.
Yeah, because Ken Patera was like 47 at the time, and I'm sure he's past his prime. Another interesting concept was they had tag team survival series teams. So they had 5 tag teams against 5 other tag teams, which was great because they had such great tag teams at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the '80s had some of the best tag teams ever.
Oh, no doubt.
So they threw all them together, and the Bees and the um, Young Stallions survived. Those were the last 2 teams,
Mm-hmm.
which was good because the Bees were like established team, and the
Killer
Young
Bees.
Stallions were up and coming. Well, Paul Rum and Jim Powers as up and coming as they could get at the time, I guess. But
Paul Roman never got a fair shake.
no, and we could actually do another podcast about this. Guys that had better runs in WCW than they did in WWE because Steamboat did, Paul Roma did.
We could actually do that for a lot of promotions. Guys that had a better run in ECW than they did in WCW.
Exactly. I mean Terry Funk.
Raven.
I mean Terry Funk. You can't beat the NBA, but ECW kind of re-emerged him again.
Mm-hmm.
There was a women's survival match. Who cares? Really, it was just Moolah against. Well, she actually was kind of weird. She teamed up with looks like.
I was gonna say there had to be other people in that. You don't just have a survival match with 2 people unless
Yeah.
you kill somebody. And
Moolah
that's
was
a
just randomly
deathmatch
there. We don't
concept.
know. I guess she was actually a face. She teamed with like Rockin' Robin and a bunch of other people, and she beat Sherry Martel and all them.
All I
Yeah,
really remember from women's wrestling that old was Lunger Blaze.
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean,
We didn't have much.
besides Moolah and a couple others, you're really not really banking on like a lot of females. Then we had this random team of people that feuded with each other early on in the year, which was Savage, Roberts, Steamboat, Beefcake, and Duggan. Defeated this wonderful hodgepodge team of the Honky Tonk Man, Hercules, Dangerous Danny Davis, the Outlaw Ron Bass, and the King Harley Race. Which was just kind of like just a random, like, yeah, who's left?
Especially the Harley Race and Hercules Hernandez. 2 people on opposite sides of the spectrum I would never expect to be on a team except for the fact that they have curly hair. That's the only similarity.
It's like NWA skill and then just a body. So overall, I mean, these matches, and once again, the quality of the matches, 24 minutes for the Steamboat Savage match, Survival, 20 minutes for the women's, who cares, 37 minutes for the tag team, and 22 minutes for the main event. So that's a pretty solid show. So the quality's gone down tremendously.
Oh, absolutely.
And they don't really do the tag team thing anymore. Like the last time I remember them doing that was like, they did it in '96, but they didn't do it like where like one guy gets pinned and the whole team
Well,
goes.
they can't. You know what their tag team tournament was? 4 teams.
Yeah, like there's nobody left.
2 guys in masks, the primetime players, Kane and Daniel Bryan, and Rhodes Scholars.
Wow.
Great tournament. You have 8 people. Wonderful. I could get 8 of my friends together and have a better tag team tournament, and the wrestling would be better too. Because I could at least put one of my friends in a mask they could breathe in a little better than Kane.
I think there's more tag teams in Ring of Honor than any of the promotions right now because they got like a good amount.
Yeah, TNA only has the number 1 contender, Kaz and they have Kaz and Daniels, they have Chavo and
Hernandez.
yeah, and then they have Cash and Gunner. That's it.
There's really nobody left.
No.
Because anytime they put someone together, they break them up or something. Someone gets hurt.
Well, I guess we can always
They just
throw
leave.
Matt Morgan and someone in there because
Yeah.
they're always a tag team. But yeah, I mean the quality's really gone downhill. And then moving on, the Survivor Series, to my knowledge, it used to take place before Thanksgiving, right? It was like the night right before.
Yeah, it was either Thanksgiving night or the night before. That was like the big thing. Like, oh, Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's another good point. It used to evolve around Thanksgiving. And then in '95, they said, nah, we're done with that.
I mean, I can see in some cases how that would be really cool to bring people together, but at the same time, a lot of times I know I'm handcuffed to what my family's doing, and I can't really make them.
Yeah, there's no time.
Let me order a pay-per-view.
It's like the Macy's Day Parade's on, then you're eating dinner, and now your family's watching football. They do not want to watch pro wrestling.
I occasionally play the Turkey Bowl. I sleep through the Lions game. I watch the Cowboys game, which is never close.
I know.
And that's pretty much it. Now, Cowboys usually win on Thanksgiving, but they win by like 13 points or at least, and I'm just bored as hell. But anyway.
Yeah, we need the Steelers and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. That'd make me happy.
You know what? We need something like where the Cowboys don't play like a scrub from Florida.
Yeah, they get a bunch of jobbers.
Pretty much. It's like, why did you think this was a good idea to put on Thanksgiving when people want to watch a good game? But anyway, yeah, I mean, Thanksgiving, Survivor Series.
Well, you want to talk about the second one? Because that's kind of like The sequel was actually, I think, a little better than the first
Possibly
one.
better than the original, yeah.
We had another hodgepodge kind of random team with the Ultimate Warrior, Beefcake, Sam Houston, the Blue Blazer, and one half the Killer Bees, Jumpin' Jim Bronzel, against, once again, the hodgepodge team, the Honky Tonk Man, Ron Bass, Danny Davis. They just threw in Valentine and Bad News Brown just because. So, I mean, I saw that match. It
Did the
wasn't
Warrior
bad.
kill everyone? Or
Kind of,
did he
yeah.
actually get pinned?
He actually was on the apron most of the match. He didn't really
I'd
come in until
imagine
the
so,
end. Yeah. Everybody else was doing the work.
Well, obviously,
Typical
it
Warrior
couldn't have been
match.
a long match if the Warrior was actually in the ring.
No, he was there just to shake around and.
Go for the tag and create drama.
This is actually a longer Survivor Series. All the matches are pretty much
Longer.
an hour or half hour or more,
Mm-hmm.
except the first match. The tag team match was 42 minutes, which debuted the Powers of Pain, which at the time were like the Road Warriors, and they ended up making them heel, which I thought was a bad move, and then they split them up. That was stupid. But Barbarian Warlord came in to fight Demolition. That was like the Road Warrior Demolition type feud. That was a good match. The Bulldogs were in that. The Rockers debuted. The Brainbusters came in.
Mm-hmm.
So some good teams there. Andre the Giant was not in the main event this year. They kind of threw him with the Heenan family, which was Rick Rude, Dino Bravo, Mr. Perfect, and Harley Race. Why not?
That's a good team, though.
Managed by, yes, Frenchie Martin and Bobby Heenan. So imagine how that collective unit worked.
Mm-hmm.
Against Duggan, Jake Roberts, Scott Casey, Ken Patera, and Tito Santana. So
Really weak lineup.
yeah, well, I remember that it was supposed to be Morocco.
Again.
No, it might have been the Junkyard Dog. I think it was the Junkyard Dog. And
Yeah, something happened.
then he got hurt. He actually went to WCW at the time. And then Brian
Which
Blair,
is also known as getting hurt on certain occasions.
pretty much. Then Brian Blair came in. The other half of the Killer Bees a substitute, but then he left. And then they threw in the Cowboy Scott Casey. It wasn't a bad match, but it was pretty much Andre and everybody else murdering the other
So how
team.
many Cowboys have there been? There was Cowboy Bob Casey. There was
Sam
not
Houston,
Bob Casey.
Scott Casey.
People that had the gimmick Cowboy. We had Cowboy Bob Orton, Cowboy
Scott.
Storm, Cowboy Casey. That's three.
Yeah, I mean,
That's too many.
that's enough right
Why can't
there.
you just call one of them like the Outlaw or the Gunslinger or something that's still a cowboy but slightly different?
The Texas Murderer. Something like that. Then the main event was the Hogan and Savage combination.
Conglomerate.
Yeah, good God. And they had a pretty crappy team of Hercules, Coco Beware, and Hillbilly Jim.
That's probably what got Coco Beware into the Hall of Fame.
yeah.
Why the hell did he have to be there?
Yeah, he really didn't earn the spot.
No, he didn't. I'd rather put the Bird in there before him.
Absolutely. Frankie, he did more, I think. More entertaining. Against the Twin Towers of the Boss Man and Akeem, Ted DiBiase, Haku, and our favorite Red Rooster, Terry Taylor.
Big Bossman was part of the Twin Towers?
Yeah,
He was like 6'6".
I know. He's not that.
Big.
Yeah, I guess they figured, well, we'll just throw him in there. So that was, a pretty good heel team. I would have threw Andre in there and got rid of the Rooster, but that's just me. Or Haku. I mean, both
We
are.
like the Red Rooster, though.
Yeah.
He does the job.
So I mean, that was a good main event, and that got you ready because Hogan and Savage were, that was getting ready for that heel turn that Savage was going to do. So they were like the Mega Powers. They were riding off that, and DiBiase is pissing them off. So might as well throw him in. It was a good show. I liked it. Probably I'm trying to find like another significance. I mean, Survivor Series '89 was
Early 90s, maybe?
Yeah.
91, 92? Before the whole drug investigations and everything?
Yeah, let's see. Well, 90 was pretty good. That was Hogan and Warrior. Actually, 90 was interesting because they had all the winners of the survival matches went into another survival match.
Nice.
So it was Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, and Tito Santana. It was pretty.
And this is what led to the whole, the tension between Warrior and Hogan for the title match.
Yeah. Well, actually, this was after that.
Oh, this was after
Yeah, Warrior.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah,
This is
remember.
the,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
They took on Ted DiBiase and then the whole Slick's whole unit of Martel, the Warlord, and Power and Glory. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. They had like a survival match where like all the jerks come together and fight each other. So that was cool. Survivor Series '90 was also the debut of The Undertaker.
Yeah, it was.
Which, if you were an NWA fan at the time, you're like, well, me and Mark, let's see what they do with him. But actually, no, like he actually had a career after that.
And
so.
it worked.
Yeah, it did. Because he was just kind of weird, and he was one of the skyscrapers. It's a ripoff of the Twin Towers.
And back
in
then,
WCW.
it wasn't the Undertaker as we think of him today because the lights didn't go out. He
No.
just came out in a coat and gray gardening gloves, and we were just like, okay.
Yeah, and he
But
just
it ended up working.
and the first guy he pinned was Coco Beware, so that goes to show you right there.
Did he also beat Coca Beware at WrestleMania?
Yeah, it wasn't. I think it was Jimmy Snuka, but
Jimmy Snuka.
I'm
I
sure.
thought he fought him at one point at WrestleMania. Did he?
I'm in
I swear
Coco.
he did.
I
Maybe,
don't. Maybe like it's some other type of show, but I mean, Coco probably got beat up a
maybe
lot.
that's what I'm thinking of, Survivor Series. Then I just remember the Undertaker killing Coca Beware on one
Yeah,
occasion. That
it
must
was
have been that.
literally 30 seconds he's in the ring and he's murdered him. And it was interesting because Brother Love was his manager, so that was kind of funny.
Bruce Pritchard.
And then, but he just came out like with short hair and he was pretty mad looking. So it was cool. It lasted, So God bless it.
In Survivor Series '91, he won the belt, huh?
Yeah, him and Hogan. And Flair was, dancing around the ring too to interfere.
Yeah, he had the chair to the back.
Survivor Series '91 was pretty good. Some of the matches weren't the best, I guess you could say, but they were fun to watch. I liked the Ric Flair, the Mountie, DiBiase, and the Warlord against Piper, Bret Hart, Virgil, and Davey Boy. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. I thought that was entertaining, but it ended up just they like pinned two guys and ended up the rest of the match got thrown out because they're always fighting everywhere.
Yeah, that's at pay-per-views. You generally want a clean ending. It's stupid. Like I hate any time I turn it on and there's disqualification or something. Like why? This is the pay-per-view. Let them fight.
I know. Apparently, this was Tatanka's dark match. He took on Kato and beat him. So God bless that.
Yep.
Every other match pretty forgettable. I did like the team of Sid Vicious, Legion of Doom, and the Boss Man. But they had something where Sid got hurt. They threw Savage in there. But then they had something where the opposition was the Natural Disasters, IRS, and Jake the Snake. But then Jake the Snake threw that snake on Savage. They both got put out of the match. It was like 3-on-3, which was kind of weak. They should have put somebody else in there. But
yeah, really. That's more of a 6-man tag than a Survivor Series match.
Yeah, so that was kind of lame. And the other matches are pretty forgettable. Survivor Series '92 was great. I loved it. But that year they changed the concept.
Mm-hmm.
There were survival matches. I think there's one survival match, but then everything else was like tag teams or like one-on-ones or gimmick matches. I think it's like the first casket match they ever had. It was Taker and Kamala, which was pretty forgettable, but it was
just for the fact that it was the first casket match. Other than that, it wasn't great.
Yeah, they had a nightstick match with Nails and the Boss, but that wasn't bad.
I remember that match.
It was a fun little gimmicky match. It was cute. Crush took on the Brooklyn Brawler in a dark match, and you can guess who won that.
Yeah, pretty much with any Brooklyn Brawler match, except for his very brief push.
Yeah, I remember that in the beginning, and I think they kind of put the stop to that too quick. I'm like, why did you do that? Like, that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I could have given him some credibility or more.
Yeah, they could have did more of that. The Head Shrinkers beat High Energy. Well, I guess they had low energy that night because they didn't win.
Yeah.
Tatanka beat Rick Martel. I mean, that's a good win. And then Yokozuna debuted. That was a big debut. That's cool. Against Virgil.
I remember that. And Virgil had his whole throat crush, and he did the whole hoarse, stammering, warning Bret Hart that he's a bad man or something.
Yeah, Virgil didn't win that one too well. Survival match, Nasty Boys and the Natural Disasters took on the Beverly Brothers and Money Incorporated, so not too bad. But that was like the last that I remember, like where you got pinned and both of the tag, both people from the tag team left. So that was like the last like tag team style. This was cool. Savage and Perfect against Razor Ramon and Ric Flair.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it was actually supposed to be Savage and the Warrior, but the Warrior once again. Actually, I think they got rid of him because the steroid thing was going down.
Yeah, or it was either the steroids or that was the whole when he held them up for money.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that was Survivor Series '91, but actually too, it could have been that as well because he always did that crap.
Yeah, well, there was that, and then he got fired for missing dates in '96, so that was a different one.
Yeah, that's when Sid came back too, so that's not a bad exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about Taker and Kamala, and then there's Bret Hart against Shawn Michaels for the belt, which was great.
Was it the ladder match?
It was just a regular singles
just
match.
a regular match.
Yeah.
Was that title for title when Michaels was Intercontinental Champion?
That's what I thought, but it was just for the WWF Championship.
Well, yeah, no, but Michaels didn't defend his belt. It was just for the WWF title, but Michaels just was Intercontinental Champion at the time.
Yeah. So Bret Hart beat him. That was a great match. That was almost 30 minutes. So up and down, that was a fun pay-per-view. I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
93 was pretty... It was weird. I call this like the WCW Survivor Series because like the Steiners, Lex Luger, and Tatanka, or it was supposed to be Tatanka, but it was The Undertaker in the main event. So it was kind of weird. It was like a WCW kind of and JR was like announcing it for a little bit, and then they had like the Rock and Roll Express against the Heavenly Bodies, which was the WCW guys. It was really weird. Like, it
Yeah,
was
that
just,
was a strange card, as I remember it.
yeah, and it was pretty. I mean, it was good, but
It was different.
and it was interesting. The dark match between Billy Gunn and the Brawler. I actually have that on the pay per view, the Countdown show, because they showed some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wish they would have showed the whole thing, but they would show clips in and out. But they had the Hart family against. It was supposed to be the King, but it was Shawn Michaels and the Knights or whatever. It was okay. Um, you want to go like maybe like 96 or something?
Yeah, 95, 96.
Because 94 was okay, but it wasn't anything special.
Nah, not at all.
95, a lot more survival matches than 94. There's about three or four. There's four on this card. There's three the year before. The Body Donnas, Skip, Brad Radford, Tom Pritchard, and 123 Kid beat the Underdogs, Marty Jannetty, Hakushi, Barry Horowitz, and Bob Holly. There was somebody supposed to be on the Body Donnas.
Hakushi was awesome.
Yeah, he was. Somebody was missing from the Body Donnas team or something.
Skipper Zip.
Well, this was before because Tom Pritchard was Zip. So that's when they started like getting along. Like, hey, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody got replaced on one of these teams. I don't remember. Smoking Guns defeated Public Enemy in a dark match. All right.
Little did we know the Smoking Guns would have one or two tag team title reigns, and Public Enemy would dominate ECW.
Pretty much. Bertha Faye, Aja Kong, Tamako Wannabe, and Lioness Asuka defeated Alundra Blaze, Kyoko Inoi, Sasaki Hozuwaga, and Chipira Asari. I probably butchered those names, but that's what I got.
Close enough.
I watched it. I wasn't impressed. It was just another Japanese. See, the problem is with these women's teams, they throw in the Japanese because that's all they can find apparently.
They can wrestle.
Yeah, so it's like Miss Tessmacher and a bunch of Japanese people or whatever. I'm just saying, make an example.
That'd be a modern example. Yep.
Yeah, Goldust defeated Bigelow, and this was a weird pay per view too because this was the one that Bill Clinton was supposedly on, but it wasn't Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
The Dark Side. Undertaker, Vega, Fatu, and Henry Godwin defeated the Royals of King Mabel, Jerry Lawler, Isaac Yankem, and Hunter S. Helmsley.
Also, one of the first encounters was The Undertaker and Kane.
Yeah, interesting.
Isaac Yankem and The Undertaker.
So Triple H, the King of Kings, Jerry the King Lawler, and King Mabel all together.
Wow.
Sure.
Sure. I'd go with Mabel out of that.
Yeah, it's probably a winner there. This was that weird mixed match team.
Oh, that was the one when Mabel tried to fall out of the ring. Do you remember this? And he was too fat to fall between the top rope and the middle rope.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And he hit the middle rope with his spine and fell on his face and had to roll under.
Mabel was just so useless.
Yeah, but he didn't move for a big guy. You remember the spinning wheel kick, and you'd just be like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's like Christ. I remember the one year in the Rumble, it took like half the ring to dump him, and then the next year Lex Luger tosses him with one arm. And the year after
Lex
that...
Luger was,
Yeah.
a piston for an arm. He was on such an amount of steroids at that point.
Oh my God. Then Michael's year after throws out Vader and Yokozuna. It's like, okay, this is kind of unbelievable.
I remember like Diesel had to bend down to get super kicked.
I know, I remember that.
Michael's probably pulled a groin hitting him.
Jesus. Then in this weird like mixed match team where they put faces with heels, Michaels, Ahmed Johnson, the Bulldog, and Sid Vicious took on Yokozuna, Owen Hart, Razor Ramon, and Shane Douglas. Actually, Dean Douglas.
I remember that. They were all faces at the time.
I swear they mixed it up.
No,
it was like heels and faces.
No, because I think that was when the Bulldog was going against... You remember when he had that brief period of time where he was against the Hart Foundation?
Well, this is before that started.
Yeah, I know, but I think it was again. Or
it might have been.
This might have actually been right before he actually joined that. Because I remember he was a
I know what you're talking about, yeah. But he had short hair during this. I think he was heel. We'll watch it. We'll check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Then Hart and Diesel, he defeated Diesel. Diesel, you're not going to get much out of the match. He's just a big, tall guy with muscles.
You know what, though? I remember a lot of Diesel matches very favorably. Even the ones where he wrestled a bigger opponent, I was entertained the whole time.
Well, that's good.
Like him against Mabel, wasn't expecting much, ended up getting a really good power match out of it.
Let's see. Yeah, Mabel. Survivor Series 96, Back to Attack, New York City in the Garden.
Sid Vicious, Camera, Jose Lothario.
Head. You know what? This is when WWE was really, kind of in dire straits, but it was still fun to watch.
It was a different crowd then because we got to see the bloodthirsty New York fans actually going against the white meat baby faces. It was nice.
Nice.
Remember they
Uh,
booed Michaels? And they cheered Sid?
yeah, I know that was great.
Poor Michaels. You remember when he was coming out of the tunnel and they made the tunnel too small? And all the fans were able to grab him, and one of them almost ripped his hat off.
See, that's the fun
It's like
things.
Christians being thrown to the lions, but he wasn't a Christian at that point.
It's like, and rightfully so. The classic free for all. Remember they have the pre-shows. They call them free
Mm-hmm.
for alls. The Road Dogg, Aldo Montoya, Bob Holly, and Bart Gunn defeated the Sultan, Bradshaw, Salvatore Sincere, and Billy Gunn, with the managers of the Iron Sheik and Uncle Zebekiah, also known as Dutch Mantel. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. That's just pretty much jobbers.
Solomon was Rikishi, correct me not?
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder, like, the live show, if they actually showed that match or not, because
I don't know.
I don't really remember, but I'll have to go back and look. Tag teams against tag teams, Furnace LaFawn and the Godwins defeated Owen Hart, the Bulldog, and the New Rockers.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Taker and Mankind was all right. That's when they had like Paul Bear on, like held from a cage. That's when they brought in like the Executioner. He debuted like Terry
Isn't that
Gordy.
when Mick Foley beat The Undertaker? Was that the Buried Alive match?
Oh no, this was just in the just a regular
Just in the
match.
Garden.
That's when like
Didn't Mankind win that one?
I thought he did, but it says the Undertaker here, dude. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember this is when the Executioner debuted and he started beating up the Undertaker. It was Terry Gordy, but then they never did anything with him. So I don't
He
know.
beat him up twice. You remember he was there to bury him too? And they never. I think they fought on Raw once, and that was it.
He was supposed to be in the Rumble. I remember that, but then they pulled him.
Yeah, I remember. I was just like, why didn't the Undertaker ever fight the guy with the mask?
It's like, what
They
happened?
did
I
on
don't know.
Raw, and that was about it.
It's like when Brian Pillman signed. You're like, where'd he go? Signed to like June. He didn't debut till like, I think it was like freaking like June of '97. I mean, it took forever.
Well, then there were all the people that were supposed to be in new ECW that never even made it,
I
or
know.
wrestled one show and were gone.
God. Who was that? Do you remember?
Rene Dupree.
Oh yeah, God. Remember they actually had La Resistance on 1 week and then they vanished. Then they had like
Was that the new La Resistance with Rob Conway, or was that the original?
it was the original one. They
It was
brought
the
him back.
original all French one. with
They showed up in
Dupree and the other
ECW
guy.
like, oh,
Yeah.
La Resistance is back. The next week, forget it. We didn't. That never happened. Like Terry Funk showed up on their show. Never
Remember when
happened.
they turned Rob Conway into like a gay biker porn star? That was terrible.
That was weird. It was like one of the Village People wrestling.
They used to call him Robert Conway. That was just terrible.
Ugh.
God.
I don't know how we got through these times. Mark Mero, The Rock. This was interesting. The Rock's debut was in the Garden at Survivor Series. So
Mark
no,
Miro to this day still thinks he's a bigger star.
I know. Oh God.
Really never liked Mark Miro. I gotta be honest. I thought he was a dick in '97.
He got on my nerves in '94 when he was like in every US and TV title match on WCW pay-per-views. It's like this isn't that good.
I mean, he can move, but he couldn't wrestle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was
He
just
was
there.
very athletic, but he was just
Too
don't
stiff,
know.
I guess.
Yeah.
This is The Rock's debut, so another historic debut at Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Roberts and the Stalker Barry Windham defeated Crush, Jerry Lawler, Helmsley again, and Goldust.
That was way back when The Rock was Rocky Maivia, though.
I remember that. He came out like some kind of gladiator thing. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Bret Hart defeated Austin, which was a good match. I like that match. It was a solid match.
Oh yeah.
In a total mess, Farouk, Vader, and the fake Razor and Diesel fought Flash Funk, Jimmy Snuka, Vega, and Yokozuna to a no contest. It was a sloppy mess of
There
a
was a
match.
WWF title match that year too, wasn't there?
Yeah, Sid and Michaels.
Sid won that one.
Yeah,
right?
Sid won the match, and we were all so happy. Then he lost the Rumble, and I cried.
That made no sense.
I know, screw them.
And then he won the belt back and lost to The Undertaker. And the original plan was for him to win.
Time for the Montreal Screwjob show.
Here we go.
Another all solid tag team against. Well, this was like the year of the gangs and the groups and the thugs. And
God, the DOA, the Bariquas. We had
I remember watching a
Brutes.
Shotgun Saturday Night Battle Royal, and it was literally all the groups. It was like, good God, and the Brooklyn Brawler. But
He was a free agent. He was trying to get recruited into one of them.
you know how long he lasted in that match.
Oh,
Boop, right
Lord.
out. But the Outlaws and the Godwins defeated the New Blackjacks and the Headbangers, which was
Just
okay.
to get this off my chest, I know it's
Sure.
completely off topic, but you're talking about people, you know how long he lasted. How in the hell did Santino Marella go from being the fastest person ever eliminated to being the last person eliminated in the Royal Rumble that Alberto Del Rio won?
Yeah, how does that work? Once
Ridiculous.
again, sloppy writing.
Very, very sloppy. Very, very
Terrible.
sloppy. But anyway, back to Survivor
Oh,
Series.
sure. The Truth Commission, which I don't know what that ever meant. They never really told the truth. And
They were like, I think they were supposed to be South African rebels. When I
Yeah, like
read it,
white
I think
supremacists who
sort
helped
of,
who
yeah,
helped the
but they
nation
didn't. They
domination
didn't.
on several occasions.
But they didn't want to say that.
Yeah, like we can't legally say this, but we kind of get what we're
But
doing
I
here.
do remember because of the names and everything, they were supposed to be South African, but they only said it like once.
Yeah, and that was it. Like, shh, hide that up.
Kurgan was in it before he was in the oddities, and I don't really remember. Cyrus was
Yeah, he was a
the head of it
manager. They had like some southern like
before he was the Spike executive.
yeah, and before that they had some kind of general guy, and then he just vanished.
Yeah, he never wrestled.
Yeah, he was there for like a minute. The one guy was B squared too. What's his name?
Cena's buddy,
Yeah, he was Bull Buchanan.
the squad.
He was one of them, and so was this other guy, this French wrestler who was actually Rambo in Japan wrestling. So was the Interrogator, Sniper, and Recon defeated the Disciples of Apocalypse, and that was Crush's last pay-per-view. That was it was an okay match. It was basically Truth Commission kicking everyone's ass.
Yeah, that was when they were really pushing them hard.
This was a fun one. Team Canada, the Bulldog, Philip Furnace LaFawn, and Jim Neidhart defeated Vader, Goldust, Mark Merrill, and Blackman, which was just a clusterfuck of a tag
Really,
team.
because I mean, when I think America, I think gold dust.
Yeah, I mean,
Red, white, blue, and gold. Who doesn't know that?
it was supposed to be the Patriot because him and Vader were like a tag team at the time, but Patriot got hurt, and that was like the last time.
The story of the Patriot's career. He got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a cluster of a group, and that's when like Goldust was like heel because he just beat up somebody, or he broke off with Marlena, and then like Mark Merrow was a heel. Why the hell he was on the team, I have no idea.
I don't remember.
Steve Blackman they just introduced. We had no personality to begin
We
with.
didn't know what he was. Yeah.
So Vader was trying to be like the front for the whole thing to get the fans behind, and Vader's not your
Vader
guy
was
to.
always a bad guy.
Yeah, Vader's not your prime example to help get fans interested. So this was just a shitty team.
Vader's had maybe 3 runs as a good guy, and none of them ended well.
Yeah, so
People cheered when he got hit with a wrench by Kane.
this team sounded great on paper before they did all the storylines, and it just totally bombed. So thank God that ended
Well,
quick.
that's like whenever whenever Shawn Michaels had a knee injury and they really needed Edge to like win the fan voting to fight Triple H at the one pay-per-view, but he didn't because they turned him heel like 2 weeks before. I'm like, well, what did you expect?
I just remember the match, like, I wanted to end quickly, but it didn't, and then it was just like Goldust refused to wrestle the whole match, and then Vader threw him in just to help him, and then he just left. That's how we all felt as fans. We wanted to just leave for another 20 minutes. Oh God, this was actually a fun match, but I thought it was too short. Kane and Mankind. It was like the first time they met.
Yeah, was that when Kane did that whole spot like on Raw where he chokeslammed Mick Foley on the stage, and we were just like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, I think it was around that time, and he only wrestled when the lights
Yeah,
were
they
all
only
red.
fought once, and we were like, why? They're so similar.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was
Kane
cool.
got for a period of time too.
They did, and it was cool. This was when Kane was wrestling when the lights were always red.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that was
they
fun.
tried to continue with Sin Cara. I'm like, just stop. You're shitting on Kane's legacy by doing this.
Please end this. It was only 9 minutes. I thought that match should have been longer. Another fun team was the Road Warriors, Ahmed Johnson, and Shamrock. They kind of put this hodgepodge team together of guys that could just hurt you in an alley.
Yeah.
To fight the nation.
They did that on another pay-per-view too. They had I remember they threw
It was a couple times.
they did I remember it was like the most destruction team ever. It was Sid, the Road Warriors, and I believe Ahmed Johnson. I was just like, dear God.
I know. I was like, you're going to get killed. But this trend was going on for a while. Like, they did this a few times on pay-per-views. They just murdered the nation. It was just pretty much a slaughter.
Yeah.
No surprise. And then it was Austin against Owen Hart, which was good build-up. But the match looked like only 4 minutes.
Was that the pile driver though?
No, this was after it,
Ah,
like
okay.
the SummerSlam. So
Was this the one that Austin just beat the shit out of him then?
yeah, pretty much. I thought it
Okay,
was
that's
longer
why
than
it
4
was
minutes, but I guess it wasn't.
No, because I don't remember Owen getting in many hits that match.
And then it says the Montreal Screwjob match was only 11 minutes. I don't think so.
It wasn't a long match though.
It wasn't. I thought that was a long match.
I don't want to say 11. I think maybe 20.
Yeah, I wouldn't say 11 either.
Put it this way, it wasn't long by those standards back then when we actually got a good 30-minute match every time.
Yeah, because 97 they were tearing up the main events. The mid-card and undercard wasn't anything to be desired, but
Well, the Intercontinental title matches were always good, but
Yeah.
everything else really never was.
was in the pooper. Stratosphere's 98, which was kind of a waste, I thought, was this tournament thing. Pretty junky.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
thought
like
the
that.
surprise entrant was going to be Sid, and it was freaking Gilbert.
Chris, you gotta let it go, man. It's been over 10 years, man.
Sorry.
Just let it go. I know. I understand how upset you are about Gilbert. but
Look
still.
at McMahon's face. He's like, Schultz, get over it. All right, we screwed you. But
I did this just to make you mad.
he did.
You know
And
that, right?
he knew I wanted to see Sid back, and he toys with my
We
emotion.
did too. Although I got to admit, the whole Gilbert thing was hilarious. He came out
Yeah.
with sparklers. Didn't he win the light heavyweight title too?
Yeah. This was like actually a pretty big Survivor Series. Like the matches that aired on the pre-show, there's tons of them. They were on. It was actually heat at the time. Too Much, which was Taylor and Christopher, defeated the Hardy Boys.
I remember that. They're a
Well,
good team.
Yeah, Bob Holly and Scorpio defeated Legion of Doom, which was Animal and Droz. Because that's when
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the
when
Legion,
Hawk was
that
like,
was the
drunk.
Legion of Hell.
Hawk was like off, like dancing with the oddities or something. Val Venus beat Ali Singh, which Ali Singh was like one of those people that came in and out.
Tiger Ali Singh never got
Couldn't get the
what he
niche.
deserved.
No.
Nah, he never really found a spot.
And then after they bought WCW, it was all over for him. He just vanished.
Yeah.
Gangrel defeated Blackman, so that's pretty solid. Each match is like 2 seconds, but like literally 2 or 3 minutes. But hey, at least you got some matches. The tournament is just too like exhausting to even go into. It just happened. That's all I can say. And it's apparently the Deadly Games tournament,
Yeah.
which was just I don't know. It was all right, but then The Rock defeated Mankind to win it.
WWF title.
There was another match though. Like they're not showing here. Where the hell is it? There was like that triple threat thing where it was like the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn versus like the Headbangers or something versus like another team.
Another team, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. I know you don't either.
No,
but
no. I gotta
we just
be
thought we
honest.
should mention it. Oh, here it is. The New Age Outlaws defeated D'Lo Brown and Henry and the Headbangers. Yeah, who cares? Literally. 99 was good.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it because they actually made an effort to get the survival matches back, even
Yeah.
though they were kind of rushed. They had like 4 or 5. Let me see. I think they had 5 survival series matches. Yeah, they had like a women's match though. This was kind of interesting team. It was like the Pimp team. The Godfathers, the Headbanger, and the Headbangers. The Godfathers and the Headbanger. No, the Headbangers, Godfather, and D'Lo Brown defeated the Dudleys, which was their debut
Yeah,
in the WWE. So another famous debut.
Mm-hmm.
And the Acolytes, which was a 9-minute match. Yeah. Angle defeated Stasiak, which was, I believe, Kurt Angle's debut at the time.
Yeah, his
So-
first match was against John Stasiak.
Another big debut. 5 minutes, all right match. This was another weird hodgepodge, like Team USA looking like team, where it was Val Venus trying to get the fans interested, and they didn't care. And once again, Val Venus, Val Venus, Mark Henry, Gangrel, and Steve Blackman defeated the Mean Street Posse and the British Bulldog.
Steve Blackman again at a team with no charisma.
Yeah, just like, he's not going to help you make this thing fun or get anybody over.
Until he found his niche in the hardcore title, but that was different.
We always wore the black sweatpants and then or the karate pants, and it just got stale. He should have wore something else.
I mean, there's like a thing where, somebody wearing like a similar garment like all the time becomes like their staple, like Shawn Michaels with the broken heart pants, and then there's the I'm too lazy to change my pants thing.
Yeah, he could have got some other. I mean, Jerry Flynn at WCW, God, no one cared about him, but at least he changed his tights.
Yeah, he did. I remember.
Mae Young, the Fabulous Moolah, who I'm amazed even got in the ring. Tori and Deborah defeated Ivory, Luna, Jacqueline, and Terry Reynolds, which was 1 minute and 50 seconds. Because it was basically like they didn't even bother. That shows you how
They
much.
didn't even bother with tags.
It shows you how much Bruce Pritchard cares about women's wrestling. The match was like 1 pin, you're done. So 1 minute 50, we'll give you that much because it sure as hell wasn't an hour. The fans would have been walking out. Kane defeated X-Pac, which was like the big thing. Like,
Their feud, I still
yeah.
have a girlfriend, and then, yeah.
we thought he was gonna like join DX, but he didn't. The Big Show, who's supposed to be originally with Kind Tai and the Blue Meanie, but he decided to beat the hell out of them all before the pay-per-view because he wanted to go alone because he hated the Boss Man so much. Instead of just saying, guys, I gotta do it on my own, they probably would have said, fine, we'll go watch.
He just beats the hell out of
Yeah, it just beats them up.
Do you remember when the Big Boss Man stole the Big Show's father from his casket?
Yeah, this was during that whole time,
Yeah.
and he was dragging him around. Oh, God, was that bad. It was as bad as the Katie Vick thing, but anyway.
No, nothing was as bad as the Katie Vick thing.
Oh, but this match was only at 1 minute and 26 seconds, so it beat the women's match because the Big Show, remember, just chokeslammed everybody. He beat the Boss Man, Midian, Albert, and Viscera. China defeated Chris Jericho, which was stupid.
Yeah, that was dumb.
The debut of Too Cool, Grandmaster Sexy and Sky Duhati. This was right when these guys like broke out huge.
Oh, yeah, their explosion.
This was the big, but they were actually heels, and they teamed up with the Hollies.
At first, yeah.
Defeated the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian. Good match. I remember it was all right. Then the New Age Outlaws defeated Al Snow, Mankind, which was all right. Then the main event was supposed to be Austin, Triple H, and The Rock, but then Rikishi hit Austin with the limo, and
Yeah.
the Big Show stepped in and he won the title, which was all right, I guess. This is when they were big on like coming out of the ring and fighting for like an hour.
Like new Sting matches because he used to not be able to go in the ring.
Yeah, pretty much. This show, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10 for effort.
Mm-hmm. And once we got to the 2000s, thing really hit a wall. Not really the best things.
2000 was pretty forgettable. 2001 was the Invasion.
Yeah, we had the Invasion.
We
But
can
other
tap
than
into that. I mean, it was pretty sloppy just because.
the booking and just the fact
Yeah.
that it was mostly WWF guys turning for WCW.
Because Flair debuted the next night, I'm like, why didn't they just have Flair back in July be the staple for WCW and have him and a couple of the at least if you had Flair, Booker T, Diamond Dallas Page, Buff Bagwell, and like a Steiner or somebody. All right, then you got at least a semi-credible
They
group.
could have just used DDP as their WCW champion and never had to worry about anything.
Exactly. So this lovely card existed with Lance Storm, Justin Credible, and Raven defeating Albert, Sky Too Hottie, and Spike Dudley.
Thank God, because those three as wrestlers don't get enough respect.
Amen. Christian defeated Al Snow for the European Championship. That was boring.
That was shitty.
William Regal defeated Tajiri in a singles match, which was 2 minutes and 59 seconds.
Hey, they later became a tag team.
Yeah, that's kind of random. Edge defeated Test. It was the unification of the United States and Intercontinental, which
They
they
beat the
ended.
shit out of each other. You remember that match?
Yeah.
It's on the Edge DVD.
And it ended up being they brought the United States belt back anyway. I like this match. The Hardys and Dudleys in a steel cage to unify the WCW and WWF championship matches. Or it's championship titles, I'm sorry. That was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Battle Royal, which was the immunity Battle Royal, and Test beat up Scotty Too Hotty to get it. Scotty Too Hotty always gets beat up before he goes out to a ring in a Battle Royal or Rumble.
The Spike Dudley effect.
Yep.
He was one of the first people that received that dubious distinction in the Rumble.
I remember that, yeah. Trish Stratus defeated Lita, Jacqueline, Molly Holly, Jazz, and Ivory in a six-pack challenge match. No one cares. And then there was the Team Rock, or Team WWF, which was The Rock, Jericho, Taker, Kane, and Big Show defeated the Alliance, which was Steve Austin, Van Dam, Angle, Booker T, and Shane McMahon. Just terrible. 44-minute
So
match.
that's what, 4 WWF guys? Well,
yeah, pretty much almost all of them
actually
were
3, yeah. Because you had Van Damme and Booker, that was it.
terrible. But that was a 44-minute match. That's pretty decent to have it that long.
Yeah, but
And then, yes, your other match was like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. 2002 was another debut in a way. It was the debut of Scott Steiner, a WCW guy who rocked Madison Square Garden, a WWE crowd.
he did. Even people that, don't give WCW credence have to admit that the crowd loved him.
That crowd was so hot for Steiner. It was amazing. And it was a New York crowd. An Atlanta guy in New York was and rocking the Garden, ridiculous.
You know what, though? Triple H, I think, sandbagged that whole...
Absolutely.
Their matches were terrible.
And I think Steiner wasn't that bad of a wrestler. I've seen him wrestle.
Steiner's a pretty good wrestler even now.
I think Triple H just, acted sloppy on purpose.
Yeah.
This was a forgettable card, but it was also the debut of another thing, the Elimination Chamber. That was the first ever Elimination Chamber
Shawn
match.
Michaels won it.
Yeah, so, I mean, overall, the card's pretty forgettable here.
Shawn Michaels with short hair and brown pants. God, I remember that. That was weird.
There was not even a survival. Oh, there was an Elimination Tables match. The Dudleys and Jeff Hardy versus 3 Minute Warning and Rico, but I don't know. I mean,
remember 3 Minute Warning? They were the ones that they beat up the 2 old ladies.
I know. My brother, or my friend John Crow, I remember he told me, like, yeah, I think Ming and the Barbarian are in WWE now. I'm like, no, that's not them.
That's not them at all. That's Rosie and Jamal, you dumbass.
They wouldn't wear that. Everything else on the card is forgettable except the main event here. But, I mean, really, the 2 big debuts, Steiner, Rock and Garden, and the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, Michaels defeated Triple H, who, had his, windpipe broke or something, didn't he?
Yeah, what happened was Triple H was supposed to be the one to call the match. Somebody's cell opened sooner than it was supposed to, and the wrong people came out. And what ended up happening was Van Dam actually kicked Triple H in the throat by mistake, and Triple H wasn't able to call the match and call out instructions to everybody. So everyone kind of tried to do their own thing and weren't prepared to block everyone's move, and that's why it was so damn sloppy.
39 minutes, that's pretty long. But, I mean, he defeated Triple H, Van Dam, Booker T, Kane, and Jericho. I mean, yeah.
That's bullshit. Fucking RVD should have been champion 4 times that year. I hated that.
Exactly.
It made me so mad.
Screw him. Was there any really other ones worth
No,
noting? Okay, well then.
no, there really wasn't. That was it.
So as we can say as a whole, Survivor Series has pretty much gone the toilet. I mean, just in
It's
quality,
just gone further and further down the pipes as we went.
booking, concept. Maybe they should get rid of it. I mean, honestly, if you're not going to
They're
do
not committed to it.
no,
They're not.
if you're not going to do it bright to the dance, don't do it. They say that these team matches don't bring the money, but apparently they used to if you book them right. You
Yeah,
know.
well, I mean, apparently their thing is, okay, we'll get rid of it or we'll keep it to keep the fans happy. We're just not going to try.
See, what I don't understand is, yeah, I mean, they kind of did like original thing where they're going to have,
You know what though? Even SummerSlam has sucked lately. I
yeah,
mean, think about it. The last two SummerSlams have been god awful. They've been Punk and Cena and Punk and Cena.
yeah.
Who cares? Why?
Well, you know what? With this Survivor Series thing, it's like they had what? Who was it again? It was supposed to be CM Punk and Foley. That was like the feud.
Yeah,
Well,
but
okay,
Foley wasn't going to be in it.
so it's kind of dumb, but you had at least a booking thing where you had two main eventers and they had Ryback in it.
To continue the Ryback Punk
Yeah.
feud.
So that would be like back in '87 saying, you know what, we're not going to book Hogan and Andre because we don't think the record so far has really drawn any money. Which I mean, they couldn't go off of, but just say like the next year they would have booked Andre and Hogan again. Well, we're not going to book it. We're going to change this, that, and that because you know what, it doesn't draw us money. That just doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, the one
And you
show.
never know until the pay-per-view actually happens.
Exactly. And this is the pay per view that's based on team eliminations as the main event. So I think that would actually help you draw money because people be like, oh, they're having a main event and it's the original elimination matches. Oh, I'm going to order that.
And not enough people took my advice, and a bunch of stupid people actually ordered Hell in a Cell, and they hated it.
Ugh. They're too afraid to take a chance. And if you have good booking, it doesn't matter.
And when they do take a chance, their version of taking a chance is like what? I remember. You do remember this summer we thought they announced we have a big storyline coming. It's going to be just as big as the whole Nexus angle. You know what it was? They turned CM Punk heel. That was it.
Wow. Well, that's the thing. Like,
I was like, "Where's the paradigm shift you were telling me about? You
Yeah.
turned a guy heel that was already, a heel."
where's this
essentially.
miraculous like thing that's going to happen? But like, they had the original booking. They should have stuck with it and just see what happened. But they're just too afraid about not making any money, which like they really need anymore anyway. And they just decided to screw up the whole storyline and plot. Forget it. I'm not going to buy your crap.
Nope.
I'll buy the Urban Wrestling Federation before I buy your
We
rubbish.
do need to take a shot on that and order that once.
We
just to
do.
see how it is.
I mean, that'd be an interesting podcast to do. Talk about is black professional wrestlers and the culture.
Yeah, we could do that because I mean we had some that they really booked their character according to the stereotype, and then we had ones that were completely different.
Yeah. Or like discrimination in wrestling, because there
We
is
could
a
do
lot of
because
that.
we can talk about how every ethnic guy just suddenly gets thrown into that instead of being their own guy.
Or like in a group.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too.
The United Nations where with the internet, what was that thing in TNA? That whole.
World Elite.
Oh
They
my
were
God.
horrible.
It's a nice name,
You know
but.
what they made me think of though? They made me think of Bison's group from Street Fighter.
We see like the Russian guy just putting the thumb sign in the middle.
You got paid?
Oh God, that was probably like that Japanese guy. He's just there for the ride. You got paid? Oh God.
But that's what Survivor Series was, and unfortunately, this is now what Survivor Series is. So I'm Peck,
I'm Chris.
and that's it.